It seems like every day we hear a new story about artificial intelligence and how it's changing the world. Like how AI can make your favourite artist sing a song by another artist and it sounds just like them. How AI is creating deep-fake images of the Pope wearing a puffer jacket. Or perhaps more seriously, how the phone and broadband company BT is predicting it will lay off over 10,000 people in the next decade because AI will be doing their jobs for them. And it's not just software and customer service jobs that are using AI, it's law firms, accountants, HR departments, maybe even newsreaders. So how worried should we really be that AI will be coming for all our jobs? And what are our rights when it comes to AI in the office? I'm Leah Boleto, and this is the Sky News Daily. In a minute, we're going to be speaking to someone from the Trade Union Congress who've been looking into how AI is already impacting the workplace. But first, I'm joined in the studio by our business correspondent, Paul Kelso. So, Paul, talk to me about artificial intelligence, because I am a bit of a sceptic, and there's been so much in the press recently about the benefits, but also about how it's coming after our jobs. How true do you think that statement is?
First of all, you're not alone in being a sceptic, because some of the coverage recently has been generated by the people who invented and developed artificial intelligence in the first place, who are looking at the progress their creation is making and wondering if the downside of this great leap forward in technology might be more damaging than the upside of it. And there's a lot of discussion that's really live right now about the impact on the workplace because of the effectiveness of some of the versions of AI, these large language models, as they're called, which could effectively mimic human traits in creating text and images in fractions of seconds. That is incredibly plausible and sophisticated, and a lot of the time factually correct. So is AI coming after our jobs? Well, if you ask an AI that question, it will say, no, it's not. It will say, as an artificial intelligence model, I have no motivation. I don't do anything I'm not asked to. Are companies using it to find efficiencies, to find productivity gains, to make working life, they would say, easier? Absolutely they are, because the companies, certainly the ones we've been speaking to, have seen it in action. It's being deployed far faster than they thought it would be because it really works. So it's gone from the stuff of science fiction to a fact of working life for lots of people already.
OK, so Paul, AI, it's been around for a while, hasn't it? But what changes are we seeing in the last few months that's new?
There's existing AI that we know about. You go onto a website, you will be very often be met by a little bot that wants to ask you questions.
They're so annoying.
They are annoying, partly because, do you find them, are they any good?
Never. I always have to go through to the human.
You end up at the human or the frequently answered questions.
Yeah.
But this is a different kind of AI altogether. This is stuff that is generating useful, plausible content, material that companies can use. A couple of quick examples. We've been speaking to Octopus Energy, one of the UK's biggest energy companies, a growing company. It's quite forward-looking in the way it operates. They've always been interested in tech. They've been working on a bespoke AI tool that's a little bit built on ChatGPT, which you may have heard of, which is the one that the recent developments have really fast-forwarded this debate because it's so much better at stuff than the old version that even the people who've built it are surprised. And Octopus have built this model, and 7 weeks ago, after some testing, they started using it to answer customer emails. And it's doing that from the basis of it's read every email Octopus has ever sent to a customer. It's read every Octopus guidebook and handbook. It's read everything there is to know about energy and energy regulation and law. It knows an enormous amount about money and the entire way the company works. It knows everything. It's read it all and it can draw on it every time. In 7 weeks, they've gone from it answering its first email to today it answers 44% of its customer service emails.
Are they happy with it, though? What do they say to you about
Well, they
the
say
system?
when a human answers those emails, the customer satisfaction response rate is about 65%. The AI does it, satisfaction is about 85%.
Wow.
So it does it better. Frees up the people to work with cases that it can't answer. Interestingly, they think it might be even better than people at answering the complicated questions. So there's just an immediate productivity gain, and that in 7 weeks to almost half of the responses. That's sort of remarkable.
It's incredible, isn't it? And when you look at the workforce, you think, OK, if they've got this kit, this AI that's improved efficiency so much, what does that mean for the workforce at Octopus, for example? Does that mean they don't need as many people?
Well, Greg Jackson does say that it doesn't mean jobs will be lost. What he does say is he's seen its potential. And he thinks for companies where there isn't an upside in growth, or companies, crucially, where they're seeking to cut costs, AI is absolutely a means by which jobs could be replaced. And he described it as a freight train heading towards the workplace. And he thinks government need to act. He thinks everybody needs to wake up to this.
I think that's what scared me about it a little bit, the speed of it. But to date, do we know of any companies that have used AI and then people have lost their jobs, for example?
We've just heard BT have said that they're looking at 40,000 jobs going across the board in the next 7 years. And there are lots of reasons for that. Some of that's because they will have replaced all the broadband fibre and they won't need as many people digging up the roads. But 10,000 of those will be jobs that they think will be replaced by advanced AI in due course. At the moment, you still need a person, a human, to check that there are not glaring errors and that this works. As it gets better, and it is getting better, how long that lasts is an open question.
Oh dear. But Paul, AI is being used in lots of different jobs, even in law firms?
Allen & Overy, one of the so-called magic circle of British law firms, long-established company, more than 5,000 lawyers work for it. It's been working with a bespoke legal AI tool called Harvey, which is, they described it slightly disparagingly, it's taking the fun out of AI by making it a legal expert. It knows everything about the law. And they big area of expertise is financial deal making, banking. They're based in the city, and so they do the legal nuts and bolts of company takeovers, big deals. So hundreds of millions, billions of pounds involved. There's huge privacy issues. So it's really highly technical, important stuff, right? It matters.
Yeah.
And they've developed their own model, which is expert in all of that. It's also got, as they put it, all the company's knowledge built up over years. So it knows how Allen & Overy does business, and they're using it. They've been trialling it for several months. They started using it 3 months ago. The day I spoke to them in the last week, they said 3,500 lawyers in 43 countries had used it. Again, always checked by a lawyer, but they reckon that's saving an hour or more per person per week. That is thousands of hours of productivity gain. I mean, that's the difference between the horse and cart and the steam engine. You can see with those kind of productivity gains why white-collar work is affected, why companies are rushing to embrace it, and why it really is an industrial revolution for white-collar work. But what we don't know is where that balance between the promise and the potential and the gains will be balanced against the harm and job losses, and where that will fall. Technology's always changed the workplace, but it's happening so fast in this case. That's where the anxiety comes about quite what it means.
AI is already being used in businesses across the UK, and as Paul says, a lot of those companies are seeing great results. But what does it mean for the people who work there? Amy Towers is an employment rights expert from the Trade Union Congress, and she's been looking at how AI is affecting the way we work. So Amy, talk to me about artificial intelligence. Are you worried about it?
So, on the one hand, we believe that AI offers incredibly exciting opportunities to better the world of work. But on the other hand, yes, we do have concerns about the use of artificial intelligence at work. For the past few years, we've been running a project at the TUC looking at what the implications are of artificial intelligence being used to do things that one would usually expect a human manager to do. So, for example, AI making decisions about who to hire, who to fire, who gets which work, how they should do it, how quickly they should do it, where they should do it. All sorts of different decisions that usually a human line manager would take. And our concerns are that using technology to make those kinds of decisions can potentially result in inequality and unfairness at work. We're also concerned that using technology in this way results in a loss of human agency and control over their work, which can then lead to a negative impact on workers' mental health. So we have a range of different concerns, and we think it's really important that there are sufficient protections in place for workers to ensure that AI is used for the greater good and to make the world of work a better place.
Talk to me a little bit about how workers are feeling. You've touched on it a little bit there, but how has it left people feeling when AI is introduced and it isn't benefiting people who are in the job?
One of the things that came across really strongly was a sense of loneliness and isolation that people felt when technology became too dominant in their workplace. So, a sense that there was a loss of human connection. And that matters so much to people, to actually have in person human engagement and relationships and communication.
And also, we've seen so many headlines, haven't we, about how AI or robots could take the jobs that people are doing. But do you think that's true? Can AI really take the jobs that people are doing?
We think we're in a period of very radical uncertainty where it's clear that there is going to be significant change as a result of the use of AI at work and automation. And at the moment, the changes are happening rapidly and happening across many different sectors of employment. But what remains to be seen is whether that is going to result in overall job losses, but that in fact, a very significant development and change will be humans working alongside artificial intelligence so that roles will transform in some way and be changed by the use of artificial intelligence.
But how far in advance are we talking here, Mary? Are we talking in the next year, the next 6 months? I mean, because I wonder how much of this AI versus the human is scaremongering, or how much actually we need to really prepare ourselves with, like you say, this radical change in AI and how much it will impact on our lives.
Well, there's a certain amount that is already happening. So, for example, there's been an announcement about significant job losses at BT as a result of the use of artificial intelligence. So, there are certain changes that are already happening. Generative AI has already been rolled out in, for example, the use of various different legal functions. So that it's undeniable that changes are already taking place. But the fact of the matter is that ultimately, we need to ensure that there are the appropriate protections in place for workers.
So tell us about those rights.
In terms of their current rights at the moment, that there are protections in the existing legal framework. So, for example, there are rights under the Equality Act that can protect people to a certain degree against discriminatory algorithms. So that's where AI is making decisions about people that are based on some form of inequality that is in the data that has fed the artificial intelligence. So that can result in things like, for example, if AI has only been trained on white faces, then facial recognition technology may fail to recognize black faces.
I wonder, Mary, if AI can do your job, does that mean your boss potentially could make you redundant and AI could take up that role?
There are really also important protections for workers in terms of potential redundancy. So we're saying that funding for reskilling and retraining of workers is critical. But we're also saying that whilst there will be a change in the labour market in certain sectors due to automation, changes that are already happening, that another significant factor we need to consider is how do workers work alongside AI, and how do workers have a say in the development of AI? And that matters in all of the different sectors of employment.
Clearly, you're worried about this, Amy, and the TUC is worried about it. You know, the rise of artificial intelligence. You're calling on the government to protect workers and their rights. What is it that you want from the government exactly? You're not happy with the current legislation around AI, is that right?
At the moment, there just isn't any specific legislation, AI-specific legislation in this country. Unlike in other countries, so for example, at the moment, the EU is in the process of passing an EU AI Act that is a specific piece of regulation that deals with the use of AI across many different aspects of society. But in the UK, we don't have any equivalent. And what we say is we've got certain red lines where we say that there just shouldn't be technology in the workplace that people don't understand, when they don't understand how it operates in relation to them, how it's making important decisions about them.
But how much do you think the package of legislation that you've outlined there will have an impact? Because it feels like we are on a one-way system to AI just exploding, really. And you've said, you know, job losses here and there across different industries. Have we run out of time?
We haven't run out of time. There's still time to act, and every small step in the right direction matters. And that involves everyone, not just trade unions, but it involves all the different voices in society making an equal contribution, and then us reaching together a consensus about what the right direction is for the use of AI in our society.
So as Amy says, people from all areas of our society need to be thinking about how we manage a world with artificial intelligence. So, Paul, what is the government saying about all of this?
As it stands, government policy is that they want the UK to be a world leader in AI as part of the science and tech being an engine of growth. So they want to be as open as possible to developers. They've published a white paper which proposes no new legislation at all, and this burgeoning industry, which is going to affect us all, is going to be regulated, they propose, by existing regulators. So if it's a media product, it'll be Ofcom.
Yeah.
And what they want is developers to talk to regulators to work out what's safe, what's not, and do it within existing frameworks. I read the document and I think that almost everybody else, government's not really sure where this ends either.
No, they're not willing to change any laws at the moment.
That's the official position. What's really quite difficult is to get a handle on what laws people would change and what they don't want from anyone involved, because the outlines of where the threat lies and the threat to jobs or whatever it might be are not entirely clear. And you know, if AI models' capability stops where it is now, you've got something that can help you do a lot of the dull work of digital data mining for all sorts of research. Think about the acres, piles and piles of documentation produced in management consultancies and lawyers and banks and marketing agencies every day by white-collar workers. A lot of that could go away. But if it all goes away, there's a real question about what we do for work. And I'm not clever enough or well-informed enough to tell you where that ends.
But it's clear, isn't it? We can't go back. It's a huge revolutionary jump. Do you think it's more about, and I think I know the answer to this, it's more about adjusting how we approach the workplace?
That's certainly right. Ultimately, it comes down to what you do with it.
Yeah.
So this is happening in workplaces right now, in a way that even 3 months ago, the companies doing it didn't anticipate.
And we joke, don't we, that AI, could it replace our jobs, Paul?
100%.
Could it replace us?
Replace mine.
Really?
Well, you can make your own judgment about whether that would be such a loss. It can already,
Please.
but it can already write copy and text in plausible ways.
But there's only one Paul Kelso.
That is true. Whether that's for good or ill, time will tell.
Thank you, Paul.
Not at all.
My thanks to Paul Kelso and Amy Towers, and to you for listening to the Sky News Daily with me, Leah Boleto. This episode was produced by Rosie Gillett. Our editor is Philly Beaumont.